was great.
Hi, Kaleem. Well, thank you so much for meeting me today for this interview, for making another episode of Remote Network series possible. I'm very excited to get to chat a little bit with you. And I would like to start off by introducing you to our viewers. And I would like to quote a little bit about your LinkedIn bio because I loved it. And it goes like this: Kaleem is a husband, a father, employee experience professional, remote work advocate, and speaker from Bangor, Maine. He is currently the COO of BlendMe, which we'll talk about more later. And I love the fact that you state your personal features first instead of your professional ones, which in the world of work it's really hard to find. It's really hard to see ourselves first as people, as real human beings, right? And noticing this and what I got to hear from you during Remote Future Summit last month, I'm very interested in talking with you about this work-life balance. How have you approached to it? And more importantly, during this not normal times either for remote work.
Oh, great. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Pleasure.
And you know, over the years, we've heard work-life balance used so many times, right? I mean, it's pretty commonly used, and we kind of have latched on to work-life integration, um, because we kind of feel like work-life balance is kind of an if-then statement, right? Work, life, and for a lot of people, that is just not the case. And what we believe is that you are your true self. You're a whole self, so you can't split yourself into multiple pieces. Not yet, anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
technology will probably change that, but um, what we've noticed is that remote work, whether you have family commitments or health commitments yourself, whether you want to be more healthy or anything like that, or you have pets, right? Remote work allows you to integrate those things, and you're hearing a lot of Darren Murph from GitLab talk about asynchronous communication, and what that allows you to do is it allows you to work when you feel the most comfortable and when you feel the most productive. So to me, and what we are really, really focusing on is just understanding that we're moving away from this, and I also think it has to do with value or with your employer. I feel like we're moving towards results based, which is absolutely wonderful.
What would you say that is the role of companies to actually make this feel like a benefit? Because a lot of workers who were used to going to an office are not getting this sense of this being a benefit, right?
Yeah, I would say it's a major role. And one of the things that we do at Blend is we're talking about, we're a remote employee experience consulting firm. So basically what that means is we want to make sure that the remote employee experience is running at the most optimal level. And the biggest downfall to remote work, well, there's a couple of them. Number one is isolation and loneliness
Mm-hmm.
in communication. Those are kind of mixed. I'm kind of mixing those together. I think the state of remote work continuously ranks those two as the two highest. But overworking, like working too much.
Like not being able
It's
to
easy
unplug?
not being able to unplug. It's easy to sit down and work 12 hours and be like, oh my gosh, I haven't even stopped. So to answer your question specifically, it's absolutely, it needs to be a top priority for companies to make sure that employees don't feel like this by maybe having less meetings. Again, we're trying to break old habits. Organizations are trying to break old habits, so it's
Mm-hmm.
difficult. So you have a lot of managers who are scheduling multiple meetings, multiple stand-ups, and you have to ask yourself, are you really getting a lot done? Are those meetings really required? I also agree with Darren Murph in asynchronous communications. They actually have this policy on GitLab where I don't believe you don't have to go to every meeting. Meetings aren't mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
And of course I could be, um, you know, messing it up a little bit, but the whole premise of it was that meetings are not mandatory. If you miss a meeting, everything is documented, and they practice asynchronous communication so you can follow up after the meeting and get all the notes that you need. I don't necessarily think every company needs to do something like that, but that's another example, right? That's another example of saying, hey, if you need to unplug, feel free to unplug. People do not write down the cost of meetings. If you really want to cut back on expenses as an organization, next time you have a meeting, just write everyone's salary down that's in the meeting and do the hourly rate and ask yourself if that meeting was worth that hourly rate.
What would you say what are the 3 main things you miss about the pre-COVID-19 way of remote work?
Blend, we started in 2013 as a consultancy, so we've been doing this for a little bit of time. But right now, you know what I miss a lot? Co-working spaces. Oh, I love co-working spaces. I'm the type of person that needs a little social pressure. And to me, I love being in a room and looking around and seeing people just getting after it and being in their zone. Number 2, I would say meetups. I'm a big fan of meetups. As you can tell, I like to talk and I like to meet new people. So I really do miss just going to random meetups. I'd say number 3 is definitely conferences / travel. I'm going to put that kind of in there.
How do you make your team feel safe, secure, supported?
Right. So we're a consultancy. We have contracted teams based on workload. So that's fortunate for us. So we're not a typical brick and mortar company that has a huge staff. But what we have advised people really is what we kind of talked about earlier. Maintain those. Give some of your employees some time off. Don't make the meetings mandatory. Retreats are great when we return back to normal, but we're not doing those right now. So maybe have some virtual contest. I've seen some cool things out there where companies are doing marathon, like a marathon contest where you go running on your own.
Like adding up miles, right?
Yeah, adding up miles. I'm a huge fan of Strava. I'm on Strava right now, trying to get my mountain bike miles in. Everyone has had some experience with remote work. It's no longer this folklore thing. You know what I mean? Before it was kind of like, ooh, you work from home in your pajamas. Ooh, that you can't get stuff done. And sure, you work from home, right?
Yeah, that's stigma.
And now the difference, the major difference now is, okay, how can we do this correctly? Everybody on the whole planet can't deny that it cannot be done. So instead of just, I don't want to use the word greedy, but I'll use it. Why not? Instead of being greedy and taking advantage of this remote work situation where you're getting rid of lease space and people, productivity. Some companies have seen improvement in productivity, higher in productivity. Well, if you're having higher productivity, most likely you're getting higher revenues. So use some of those revenues to alleviate some of the pressure on people.
How do you see the world of work in 5 years?
It's a good one. I would say more. There'll be a lot more freelancers, and the gig economy will grow. I think people will recognize that they can make more money on their own and be an expert in one specific thing that they want to do.
An advice that you would give your remote team or remote teams of all companies?
Don't go back to the way it used to be just because. Utilize this as an opportunity to change for the better.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Kaleem. And it was very nice chatting with you and learning from you. And we'll see us another time, I hope.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Have
Talk to you
fun
soon.
fixing your bike and riding it too.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you very much.